Look, I think it's as close to fast-tracking uranium exploration and production as you can get. There's strong US government support for domestic recovery of uranium and critical minerals from legacy mine waste. I think the added benefit here is, we're not only extracting uranium for a revenue stream, we're also able to clean up the surrounding environment and waterways.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Metals One Managing Director, Daniel Melling. Dan, very good to speak with you. For new investors, can you explain what the Uravan Belt is, why it's historically significant, and what drew Metals One to acquiring this project?
All right, thanks, Stephen. Look, Metals One went out last year after our financing, I guess, trying to identify early stage projects, but ideally in proven districts in the US. The Uravan Belt's very well known. It's been one of the more prolific uranium production sort of areas within the US itself. And these particular claims that we accessed and acquired are pretty close to the historic Buckhorn mine. So we knew there'd been contained and produced uranium on the site. And we're now benefiting from that analysis by this relationship with DISA.
You're getting a revenue share from these waste dumps with zero capex or operating cost exposure. How does that model work, and how significant could the revenue stream be?
Look, for us, it's all about trying to keep the upfront commitments, to a minimum, and also partnering with operators that have a good understanding of the local geology, the infrastructure, and obviously the jurisdictional requirements, which obviously the guys at DISA do. So effectively, we've partnered with DISA to fund, the near-term exploration in this context. If they're able to firm up the grades of uranium, we're immediately able to turn those discoveries, I guess you call them, into a revenue stream as they extract the uranium from the dumps.
DISA is the first company to receive an NRC license for uranium waste remediation. How important is that, and what does it mean for the pace at which this project can advance?
Look, I think it's as close to fast-tracking uranium exploration and production as you can get. There's strong US government support for domestic recovery of uranium and critical minerals from legacy mine waste. I think the added benefit here is, we're not only extracting uranium for a revenue stream, we're also able to clean up the surrounding environment and waterways. I think it's something like 90% of the contained uranium in these dumps is cleaned up through this slurry process from DISA.
Your initial sampling returned grades of up to 4.17% uranium from historic waste. Can you put that number in context for investors who may not know what a good uranium grade looks like?
Look, it's a little bit of a tricky one. I guess in our situation, the uranium's already been produced or developed from the mine, because we're accessing it from mine dumps. So it's really a processing task. It's fair to say the nuances around that is proprietary to the DISA guys, but they'll come in with their mobile plant. I mean, one would hope in these processes you're recovering, 10 to 20%, on those high-end grades. So look, we're positive. DISA wouldn't be in here having conducted the due diligence and committed to this agreement without having a reasonable chance of an economic project here.
You're expecting gamma data by the end of May and assay results by the end of the third quarter. What's the best case scenario if those confirm what you think is there? And what does the timeline to first revenue look like?
Look, I mean, we are one of the, a parcel of projects that DISA are looking at. For them, if they're bringing out their kit and their mobile plants, they want to access as much as land as they can, for this process. I would hope they've concluded their acquisition sort of phase, and I know for a fact that they've been out in the field sort of recently. So if we're able to return some of that gamma data into, tested and more known quantities of the uranium within these piles, I'd expect some results around that at the end of third quarter. At a stretch, I don't want to get DISA into trouble, but I'd be hoping for mid next year for some sort of revenue stream if we're successful during this phase.
Well, Dan, thank you very much for speaking with us today. I hope you'll keep us updated with your progress.
We will indeed. Nice talking, Stephen. Thank you.
Metals One Managing Director, Daniel Melling.